All right, so I was saying 60 channels of wireless. We basically ended up with, we needed to be able to like fit some more wireless in, but if you know anything about wireless and coordinating, it's not advisable to just go like, okay, let me hit the scan button and let it scan and then find something and then drop it there. So wireless obviously uses RF energy to transmit and receive information invisibly, duh. But if you think about that, it's magic, right? You can't see it, so that's the confusing thing, because it operates in a lot of ways like light and sound do, or gravity for that matter, physics, inverse square law, whatever. So it operates according to physics, but then it has this extra thing because you can't see it. Like you can tell when you have light from a stage and you're blocking it, like I can't see that thing now. But with RF, you can't tell when something is wrong because it's magic, right? Okay, so the inverse square law only says, like when you double the distance from a transmitter, you get less, you get 1/4 of the power. So how that works out is, I see eyes glazing, sorry. How that works out, it's in the afternoon, just get some sugar jolt or something, is basically get the receivers closer to the transmitters. Now, you all know this, but I'm just going to say this. In-ears have, the transmitters are in the rack, right? And the receivers are here. And then mics, the transmitter is in your hand, and the receiver is in the rack. Okay, so basically we're trying to reduce the distance from transmitter to receiver. So whenever we do a portable rig, we always put the receivers on stage, because line of sight is also important. It can be blocked or reduced by bodies, right? Or steel is a typical thing that can make RF signals bounce. You can also have this thing, I don't know if you've noticed, but most mic receivers have 2 antennas. It's called diversity, and it has a little brain in there that is like, which antenna am I getting better signal from? Yeah. I'm going to pick whichever one is stronger. One quick tip is, don't put the antennas the same direction. Put them 90 degrees to each other, and then it can really tell which one is picking up better, right? So that's one pro tip. That's how you should do those.
Is there no like beam forming deal that you can do?
Well,
they both can act as one. Like one.
That's not how diversity receivers work. Now, there are other other ways to do that, but most mic receivers just pick one or the other and not both. So put them at 90 degrees, and it sort of creates this plane of reception. Mm-hmm. Line of sight is important. So if you're in a portable scenario and your mic receivers are at front of house 50 feet away, and you've got your antennas down there in the rack, and your person is on stage, I mean, how many bodies and stuff does it have to go through to get there? So like, first of all, get the antennas up, line of sight again. So if you could remote your antenna, that's great, or you could get the rack up there, or just move the rack to the stage, right? And then put it all in your digital snake and it'll be fine. Now you might be like, but then I can't see with the battery, or if there's a problem. Well, if you've coordinated it, you shouldn't have a problem with the RF. The battery, you should just check it before you hand it to someone. That's my rule, is like, before I hand the mic to someone, I'm like, hey, I want to hear it through the PA. I'm not just like, oh, look, it turns on. That doesn't work. And the one time you do that is like, the pastor gets up to pray, and he's like, and you're like, ah, like, you go look, he's like, oh man, it's dead, He's like flipping
That's
it.
your reaction?
You're like, ah, jeez. And you have to run up there like, here's the handheld. Wait, check, okay. Anyway, so, okay, projector turned off. We're not gonna look at that anymore. So, inverse square law, get transmitters closer to receivers, okay? There is a point that doesn't help, but if you're at least 10 feet away, you're probably fine. Again, these are rules of thumb. We're not doing physics here. Okay. Can be blocked. Line of sight is important. Steel metal can cause issues. Like we have a steel truss ceiling. So if we had receivers, like in that room, mounted right next to the steel, it could cause an issue called multipath, where you will get a signal that hits the steel, bounces in, and then a signal that also hits the antenna. And then the antennas are like, wait, which one, which one, which one, which one? And it freaks out and drops the signal. So that's pretty rare, but steel, watch out for, because it will bounce things. All right, so the biggest factor, we can kind of figure all that out because it's like we understand how light and sound works. Like the further away you get from a speaker, the less volume, right? But the final thing is called intermodulation that you want to watch out for, and it's not like, well, there's interference and there's intermodulation, and it's not really intuitive. So interference is easy because generally speaking, in wireless, we have these frequencies that we live in where there are TV stations. Okay, people still watch over-the-air TV and Netflix, but we have these transmitters. A little mic in your hand, 50 milliwatts. That's like 0.05 watts. I don't know, something like that. And then we have 50 million watts from a TV and like broadcasting. And so do you think your little mic is going to win versus that TV station? No, it's not going to win. So we have a couple of tools at our disposal. I'm going to bring this up in just a second once I have these all
It
up.
also can't win by law.
What?
It also can't win by law.
That is true.
Oh, yeah.
Unlicensed, right? We're unlicensed and they're licensed. So it's like, yeah. They recently had to shrink the spectrum, right? I had some 700 megahertz stuff. That went away. Then I had some 600 megahertz stuff. That went away.
Yeah.
So now that the FCC has sold off our air, basically, and now T-Mobile can use it.
Rugby service.
Let me see if I've got. There's a good FCC TV query and there's a bad one. But anyway, TV Fool is one site you can go to find TV stations. It'll actually show you. I mean, if you think about it, all the retirees driving around looking for free TV. They put in their address, and it's like, oh, point your antenna this way to pick up this station. Or these are really strong, and these are really weak. So, I'll turn this back on now. Maybe. It's on the what? See, I should just listen to you. I'm learning.
Don't listen to it.
Okay, open the shutter. So basically, you put in your address, and it will tell you, hey, these stations are in this vicinity. Stay out of these, okay?
Antennaweb.org does it too.
What's that?
Antennaweb.org. I think it's one.
Okay, let's try that one. That one might be better than TV Fool. All right, 505 North 20th Street, Waco, Texas, 73707, and let's mirror the display. And hit go, and it's gonna think. So the FCC has a database of all the TV stations, blah, blah, blah. All right, so there's that. There's some stations. It doesn't tell you, it tells you RF channel like 10. I'm gonna look at TV Fool real quick, because I know that one fairly well. Click here. See, it's for the retirees. 505 North 20th. Hope that's right. And then antenna height. I'm just gonna leave it. Find local channels. All right, so this one has the polar plot, and then you can see the green. The green at the top are the ones that we have to worry about. And then the yellow are like the 34 and 51. And then red, the biggest thing is like the signal power. So see here you've got, it shows you that line of sight. And then it bounces off the troposphere or whatever it's doing. Anyway, the point is the signal power is not above -50. I don't know why that's a magic number, but pretty much when it's below -50, we don't have to worry about it. So we have 4 TV stations to worry about, really. And actually, some of those don't even matter because of the area that we can be in because of that 600 megahertz thing. Okay. All right, so interference is one problem. Of course, we know, makes sense that if someone, you know, in the next building has a wireless mic on the same frequency as us, yes, there's going to be a problem. That kind of makes sense, right? Intermodulation is the final thing that is really messes people up and is due to the invisible magic voodoo nature of RF can really, you can have problems without realizing you have problems. So intermodulation is basically when you have two pieces of RF, two transmitters talking, and they create harmonics together, okay? And the closer they are together, like in terms of, well, distance of course, but power or frequency, the weirder the harmonics get. So we use computers these days, right, to compute harmonics of RF channels. So the biggest thing is when you have frequencies that are too close together or too powerful or whatever, and this is why people use antenna combiners, because antenna combiners, you have two types, obviously the receiving and the transmitting. When you have a transmitting antenna combiner, it will actually reduce the intermodulation. So we have a portable monitor system. We have an antenna combiner for those 3 antennas. So we don't have 3, antennas in there. There's actually less intermodulation because we use the $400 or $500 antenna combiner than if we just had 3 antennas sitting next to each other, all transmitting, because they will basically transmit into another antenna, into the front end of the RF emitter. And that's where the harmonics happen. And if you happen to get a harmonic on another primary frequency, then you have a problem. So the point here is put it in the computer, let the computer figure it all out.
Yeah.
Now, you might have, let's say you've got 8 ULXD in a room, right? And then you're like, okay, all I need to do really is put them all in the same group, right? Should be fine. Well, that's true until you start mixing like manufacturers, or you have mic receivers, transmitters, whatever, a mic system and an inner system. They don't know about each other's groups, okay? So the group only helps so much. So then you start downloading this piece of software called Wireless Workbench. Good night. Just setting the mood a little bit.
That was a great transition.
was great.
It
It really was.
That was beautiful. We can see. No.
It seemed intentional.
Turn your attention.
Okay. I'm going to open my Wireless Workbench. Now, thank you, AK, for being the guinea pig
I'm the guinea
on this. All right, so the things, we understand RF to a point, right? Get transmitters and receivers closer to a point. Another rule of thumb is like if you have a transmitter and a receiver, don't get them closer than 6 feet. Like if you have your in-ear rack and your receiver rack, 6 feet at least. Okay? Obviously more is better, but don't put them on top of each other. You will have problems. Or if you walk with your transmitter right up to the receiver, you'll have problems of the mic receiver. But, so 6 foot distance between transmitters and receivers, put them on stage if you can, because that's closer to usually where they're used. Watch out for interference from what? What? Good word. TV stations, and watch out for
Glad you heard that word.
intermodulation.
So if you have.
I realize I was just talking and not asking any questions, which is terrible.
So if you have antenna combiners, does the 6 foot rule still apply?
Yeah, you're talking about
For the
physical
antenna
position.
combiners, or is it actual, like if you have a whole rack loaded with transmitters, receivers for IMs and like handhelds or whatever?
It depends on where the antenna is coming out of the combiner.
Yeah, if you remote the antenna It's how close the antennas are.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
6-foot rule applies. Actually, in this room, we had the people that installed it put a a diversity fin and a like a shark, like the Shure directional.
Is it the RF venue?
Yeah, the RFNU, which is interesting because it's directional for one antenna
Yeah.
and it's omni for the other. Anyway, I'll talk about the antennas in a little bit, but the point was they were right next to each other, so that was a problem when we went to go change the
You can
frequencies.
slam the whole rack full as long as you're using some kind of antenna combiner.
If you
But
get
if
it,
you're not
yeah,
using
get them
antenna
6
combiner,
feet
then
apart
don't run 6 feet.
on
Yeah,
the
that's
antennas.
reception.
All antennas 6 feet apart, no matter if they're for in-ears or wireless mics.
This is why you want to do combiners.
Okay.
So transmitter antennas from receiver antennas. You
Okay.
could have an antenna forest of receivers,
Okay.
right? They're only receiving. That's fine. The antenna forest of transmitters, intermodulation in that group, add a combiner. It's not that cheap. So I bought a used one. Still works. But anyway, you can avoid intermodulation by the transmitter antennas forest you want to get rid of. All right, wireless workbench. Here we go.
It's funny because you go to a lot of churches and they have like a big old like shelf with everything just kind of set on it.
Well, that's fine because those are all receivers,
Yeah.
right?
Unless they have
You
ears
should-
on.
If they're ears, yeah, that could be a problem.
I think if you're gonna do wireless, if you're gonna buy wireless, you should write into your budget a combiner just in
I agree.
one GP. Like it just should like you're gonna write in a Furman to power it all. It's just
Yeah.
the way to go.
I would like to see this actually. So I'm going to maybe change this. Oh, okay. Well, can we make this smaller or bigger? Whatever. Let's see if that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Readable.
Readable.
I don't know how to operate this thing. Okay. Oh, that's great. Okay, sort of, maybe working. All right, so I asked AK, thank you again, to send me a picture of his racks, like his transmitters, receivers. Took a little while to figure out what was what. But we got it.
Sorry.
Fine,
In the
but
middle of a
really I just needed pictures of like what frequencies and what models, right? So wireless workbench allows you to put in all of these. So I'm going to add a new device. It has not just Shure stuff, it has all the stuff. So you got Sennheiser stuff, you got 500G3, what
Yep.
band are you in,
There you go.
blah, blah, blah. Now some of that stuff, like I had to figure out, I knew it was 500G3, but I didn't know what frequency band, but there's only one band that works in the US, so I went with that one. Here's Anchor, Shure, you know, all the stuff. So, and then you can say like, okay, I have Shure, let's see, we used to have some PSM 600. Hey, PSM 600s, right? They also have the master list, which is like, sometimes, you know, RF devices want to be like, okay, you have this group of 4 and you have this group of 4, but master list allows you to choose any frequency that it can do, not just the ones that they think work together. Here's the ULX, here's the quad, dual, the regular, whatever. All right, so I did that with, how are we doing on time? 4:30. I did that with AK stuff, and here's what I got. So he's got, I hope this is right, he's got 6 in-ears on the bottom, and these are the frequencies that they were set to. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 7, 8, 3, and then he's got 2 500G3 in A set to, and you said 519 600, right?
519-600.
And then 2 Shure SLX, Group 1, Channel 1, and Group 4, Channel 4, right?
Yeah. We only have one Sennheiser. Yeah.
Okay. Oops.
That's alright.
Well, we'll just make it fun. All right, so what you do to use this piece of software is you put in all your gear, and then you go over to the frequency coordination. This is where we might want to have a bigger screen. Bummer. I can't make that bigger. Well, what do you know? We'll just change that. Sorry, everybody. Just gonna go back to this 1080. All right, go back here. Open it up. All right, I also pulled in TV stations.
Nice.
Now, the frequencies that you can use in the US are 470 to 608. And I know that because I have stared at them many times. Okay? Now, you can see down here at the bottom, TV channel 14, 15, 16, blah, 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 21, 24, 27, 29, and 30. Now, if you did an RF scan at your place, you'd probably see like big bumps. And then you'd see random spikes throughout there.
Wait, can you scan in this program or with a different program?
You can scan in this program, but I don't have a live deal.
Yeah, you're.
There's also this thing called the RF Explorer, which is pretty cool, which basically is like a USB device, and it will, there you go. That you can put different antennas on. It's a USB RF scanner, and it allows you to like pull in scans of a frequency range. In fact, you can use this for Wi-Fi too, which is 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. So anyway, RF Explorer is a pretty cool little tool. It's one of those that's super useful, but you're like, who designed the UI for this thing? It's terrible. So whatever, you know.
And to do a scan, you have to have one of the Shure products to be able to scan the frequencies. Could you do a scan with like Sennheiser to pull forward?
You can, yeah. I haven't ever done a scan with a Sennheiser. You can do scans with Shure. Now, it might be like, okay, you've got a G50. It's only going to cover this much of the spectrum, not this much. So, you know, it'll give you a partial picture. I put in, so I'm in the frequency coordination space. Again, this is another one of those super useful tools that is really hard to like wrap your head around how to use it. It took me forever. Maybe I'm just dumb, but anyway, so I'm looking over here at the spectrum, and I click this gear. I don't have live scans to import, like we were talking about, Jason. Here's my TV stations. This also has a lookup. This is the postal code for the church, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking within 50 miles of that postal code. It's not an exact science, right? So then it queries the database and it gives you all these. And then it's like, hey, do you want to put in all these guys? So this is a low power TV analog. It's on the edge, 45 miles away, and it's low power station. Don't really care about that one.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, I could also look at TV full. Let me actually put that in. That's just my go-to guy. So this one was for here. I'm going to go back. Erase. I think it'll be fine with this. And we got Colorado. Oh gosh. All right, put that in there. Fort Collins, great. And find local channels. Now the tricky thing that I found out about Fort Collins is you look in 3 different places, you get 3 different answers. And look how many green, you can't really see it right now, but the green stops here. Okay?
Jeez.
That's a lot of TV stations to worry about, right? Like, look at channel 11 there. Here's another view you can look at. Down at the bottom, you can see, like, here's the VHF. We don't care about that stuff. And which TV stations do we care about? If we go back here and we look at 14 to 36 is what we care about. So we go back over here, and we've got, there's 14 up to 36. So we care about all them right there. Well, see, remember negative 50 is sort of the magic number?
Yeah.
I will just ignore those just because we're doing a practice coordination. But that one we care about, whatever that
No,
is.
this is real.
that one, that one, that one. It's real for somebody, right?
Somewhere.
All right, so you get the idea. A lot of TV stations, like Buku. You're in the mountains. How do you get that many TV stations?
They're still in the
I
old
don't
days.
have TV.
They don't have digital TV.
No, this is digital TV.
Digital TV.
Nobody's analog anymore,
No.
generally speaking.
Hey, Fort Collins is
All right.
200,000 people. It's not the mountains.
Okay. Anyway, I put in a few of those that I basically just took a wild guess at, like, okay, the FCC database says this, the TV Fool says this, and then there's actually, if you query it through Shure, and then versus like you go to the FCC website, that's a different thing. So I was like, well, most of these overlap. So that's kind of where we're at. Well, I'm just going to move forward because we can do this for real later. All right, so what we need to do now is we need to add the frequencies. Again, these are the things you got to watch out for. I'm going to select the frequencies from inventory. Bam. My inventory is all the stuff I just added, right? So I pull these in. There they are. Okay, so far looks like we're kind of love channel 21 there a little bit. Which might be fine because the bandwidth on these, like you see how wide the TV is, but the bandwidth on wireless is very small. So it might be fine, but we have not determined, what's the magic word?
Intermodulation.
We have not determined, do we have intermodulation yet? Okay? So, first thing we're going to do is go down here. We don't need to see all this. So I'm going to hit Analyze. Okay, what do you see there? What do you see down here?
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay,
Lots of red.
are any of the frequencies compatible?
No.
Negative.
No.
No.
Ouch, which is the reality you're living in right now, right? Like, man, why isn't this working? Okay, so what Wireless Workbench does, and you can see how they're all red up here. They'll turn green when they're compatible. Remember, so they're not hitting each other, right? Primary frequencies are easy to figure out. Wait, this one's 550.050. This one's the same? Wow, that's going to be a problem. Intermodulation is the thing you need the computer for, right? And avoiding interference from TVs. So we hit Analyze, and then let's actually look at the little report here. So it shows you like, okay, well, we're kind of hitting one TV station for one of them. But like, if you look at channel 2T30, second something, third order, it's a harmonic. It's intermodulation, basically. You have 12 of those RF things hitting each other. It's only the second, it's not a lower like interference, it's a higher one. So look how easy it is to change that. Hit calculate. Ah, look, we just changed them all. Okay, now you can see like we've got, these look completely random now. I don't know if you can read that, but they kind of look random, and they kind of are, because you could hit this 20 times and get different results.
Oh.
Okay? Those are all valid. It just computes them very quickly. Okay? Now you might be like, oh, well, we could just pick one of those and it'd be fine. Word to the wise, because I've done this before. What you want to do is add additional frequencies so that then if you happen to plug in all these frequencies and one of your wireless for some reason is picking up something, from the next building, you're like, shoot, now I have to move this one. So you'd have to be like, okay, well, I'm going to lock all these that are fine, and we'll unlock that one, and then we got to calculate, okay, okay, let's see, let's find that one, and then lock it. Okay, it's fine now, we'll move it to that one. The better way, in my view, is to do this. I'm going to hit calculate, so we have a way to go. I'm going to hit plus on the primary frequencies. There's an easier way to do this, but this is how I do it. And I just right click and I say move to backups. Okay? So now I have two backup frequencies in the Shure. These are the in-ears. We could have renamed these probably to in-ears,
Yes.
but I'm lazy, so I didn't. Anyway, we've got 2 backup frequencies, so in case the in-ears are like interfering somehow, we can switch it to another one very easily without pulling out the computer and doing all this stuff, right? So I'm gonna add 2 more to these guys. Oh, I don't know what happened there. I only added 1. Okay, I'm gonna move these down to the backup. And then add 2 more, right? Move these to the backup, piece of cake. All right, now I am actually coordinating all of these frequencies. So that's a lot more. So it might need to think a little more. Actually, it didn't have to think more. Oh, look, we have one that doesn't work. Okay, so sometimes you'll find that. You kind of found the limit to like the possibilities in your. Now, it could be that these are the Shure, those are the SLX. Yeah, pretty sure those are the SLX. Those are not very flexible. So it makes sense that the SLX are going to run out of options first. Because how many frequencies do you have in each group? It's like 6 or something. Maybe it's 11, I don't know. Like the ULXD is like, whatever you want, we can do that. So we might just hit calculate again, because sometimes you end up with a, look, see it's running. Oh, nope, it tried all the possibilities. Sometimes, oh look, all of them are working. See, RF is voodoo. There is a system that works. Okay, maybe I'm going to push the envelope a little bit. Why not? Right? We're in virtual reality now. Why not add 2 more to the more flexible guys? I closed it again. I'm going to add 2 more. Okay, so now I've got 4 backup frequencies. Now, if you were like, hey, we need 2 more wireless soon, you just coordinate for them already, right? So, yeah, and look what ran out first. Oh, nope, yep. The SLX is out of luck. And we lost one on here. So you could be like, okay, well, what if we just have 2 there? Let's see. And I'd like to keep 4 frequencies there because you might add more wireless in-ears, right? Okay. It's thinking. Did it come up? Nope, it didn't. Anyway, you can play with this all day. What's funny is you hit calculate 5 times and you get different answers, and sometimes it works. It's like the jackpot. I don't understand. So,
A lot of. Come on.
this is how you understand why you need the computer, because the intermodulation stuff that no one can see. You understand the basic rules of thumb: transmitter antenna and receiver antennas further apart. Combine transmitters if possible, right? Antennas for receivers just look ugly when you have 10 of them across the top of the booth. Get it closer rather than further away, but not too close. And then coordinate with TV stations and all your other stuff. And make backup frequencies. Okay. I talked way too long, so apologies for that. Any questions?
How long are you doing your scans? Like, are you doing this like once a year, once a month, once a week?
Like once I have a coordination,
You're
I
good
just
for.
leave it alone unless I have a consistent problem. I mean, that's RF. Sometimes you, like, in the main auditorium, this program will also do monitoring of our, of some of the guys on the, also his little cool thing. This thing actually monitors the different, like you can see this channel is on, and here's the RF and here's the audio. This is called mic board, and there you go. Basically, that pulls from our networked receivers. If you look on Willow Production.
Under micboard.io is the website. It
Okay.
only works with Shure products. So, sorry, it's not like myself.
Sorry.
It's
Buy American or
But
Chinese.
But that's a app that runs on Linux. They also have a Macintosh app that's actually pretty easy to do. That's not the easiest thing to do.
Oh, so you can run it on a Mac.
Yeah, you can run it on a Mac. It's just a background app, and then you can open the browser. And everything.
The nice thing about the mic board thing versus wireless Workbench is we run this at front of house, right? But you can change things accidentally on wireless Workbench, whereas the mic board thing is like read only. It knows you just want to monitor things, which we might actually download that. Someone asked a question to kind of jump off that. What was that question? I don't remember what that was. Anyway.
I have it.
You can monitor the wireless stuff. Let me see. I don't know if I have the actual file.
If Sunday's show, we're not sure.
Oh, there's Antioch Waco. No, I'm not going to save this. All right. So there's some wireless.
Some.
And we're going to look at the frequency coordination. Lots of things. I have these split into zones. So if you have multiple rooms, it will determine like the intermodulation. It doesn't care about intermodulation between rooms. So you can get more flexibility. It only cares about primary frequencies. And just so everyone can feel better, I'm going to hit analyze. Everything's green. Notice this blue area? That's a user exclusion that I put in there. So that is actually, we're actually in the 600 megahertz, what's called duplex gap. So normal wireless stop here. But there's this little gap you can actually put things in if they're below a certain transmitter power and all that stuff. So our wireless comm lives in that gap. But that's why I put that there, so it wouldn't try to put stuff in there. And then we can hit monitor, and here's the main auditorium. None of those are on. Here's the kids' auditorium. Oh, Wi-Fi. It doesn't like our Wi-Fi. I have to run this on a computer that's wired. So you can't see anything, but basically that's what you get to see is, you know, RF power, audio, blah, blah, battery. You can even like open one of these guys up and you can say like, show me the timeline, maybe. Am I in the right place here?
Yeah, but you'd have to have
Go ahead, collapse those.
some history, right?
I don't know if it needs to be running or not. Yeah, it's not. Oh, okay. Well, I just opened it. And you can change all of the things about it. You can put a pin number on it. Here's a funny thing. Recently, we had an event in here. All of our ULXD are networked together, which means, like when you're in a portable scenario, you can literally hit, like, if you don't have this, you can hit scan, and they will all figure out together what frequencies they can work together, and then redistribute to all of them that are networked together, which is crazy and awesome. Better have your in-ears on first so that they see those, but basically, so you don't step on each other. Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Is this helpful at all?
Yeah.
If you're running into problems with your wireless?
So
There is actually a Sennheiser network thing.
WSM, something like that.
Yeah,
Something
something like that.
Yeah.
I have not used it.
I think I do have it. I rarely use it just because I don't feel like opening it, but it's good.
Can you monitor stuff on it?
Yeah, I can. I use it mostly for our IEM, like making sure I'm not clipping my in-ears.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so you can put your in-ears on stage
Yeah,
and monitor them.
yeah, because we have a combiner for those.
Yeah.
So I run the antenna side stage and then, yeah.
Antenna-wise, I think that's it for the... Antenna-wise, you've got a couple different types of antennas. You got directional, basically, and omnidirectional. And there's a couple of different, like, types, but it basically comes down to directional and omnidirectional. And surprise, directional antennas are more expensive. And they look like a shark fin, if you've ever seen, you know. You do also have to worry about, like, it's sort of like a shotgun mic. If you think about, like, if you're trying to pick up somebody with a shotgun mic, you know, which has a very narrow pattern, I'm trying to pick up AK talking, like, the further away I get, you know, the more I'm potentially losing signal, and I'm picking up other things, right? So this is why closer is better, even if I'm just using an omnidirectional antenna. You can also, yeah, there's other types like helical and stuff like that. Any other questions? It's about that time.
Aside from the deal you showed us on Amazon.
Yeah,
Like-
the RF Explorer.
Yeah. Are there other like would just like an Android app be even sufficient just to see what like Wi-Fi frequencies and other frequencies are like in the space that you're using? Like,
Wi-Fi, yeah, you can,
portable, yeah.
you can, because it has a Wi-Fi app. It has a radio that's a Wi-Fi radio in it, right? But this frequency range, unless your Android can pick up TV stations, it
Right.
can't pick those up. There might be something that will like hook up by USB to Android or something, but really it's kind of like coordinating with like extra frequencies to me is like insurance, because really
Yeah.
stay out of the way of TV stations, coordinate so they all work, your system works together, and then if you have one or two that are like, you know, if you turn it all on and you have an RF meter when you have no transmitters on, that's like a little blip, you're like, okay, we got to change that one to the backup, and then hopefully it's good. So you don't necessarily have to scan, is what I'm saying, because that can get. Now, if you were, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say there's some unknowns too. We had a problem one time when I was at Lake Hills where we went basically through Wireless Workbench and found all these things, but every Sunday morning we would have a problem. And what we realized was that they had police that came on the property to do security stuff, and their radios so we got the RF venue scanner so that we could say, what is that right there?
Right.
But it took us, because on Tuesday afternoon there's no police radios there, and we were looking and going, what? And everything works, and then Sunday morning, problem. And so there are some like weird unknowns that, you know.
Unless you're analyzing the moment of you're
Right,
actually doing
and that's
it.
where those
Yeah.
live scanners come into play is, you know, especially if you're in a mobile application, you know, you may go through this process and everything's great, and then Sunday morning you've got an issue, and, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes finding those is in the moment. Is
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
that's our
hard.
Wi-Fi mic. It works great during the week, and then you get 250 people, 300 people, whatever, in service
T-Mobile.
or whatever, and then all of a sudden the mic is just garbage.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what's different on Sunday morning that's not happening?
Because we are unlicensed users, there are other things that can come in. Most of the time,
Yeah.
fire, EMS, and all those people are
They're
in
way out.
another deal. But sometimes you can have an intermodulation issue where it will create a harmonic that's in your space.
Yeah.
It's like I started out saying, $25 cable versus all this. This is not a commercial for Shure, so sorry, but I'm happy with the ULXD because it will actually pop up an interference like, hey, you've got something on this channel, do you want to flip to the backup frequency? And then you just say, yes. That is pretty sweet.
That's fancy.
But we can't get our DMX working, but hey, you know, one thing at a time. It's been pretty rare, once we did the coordination and like are monitoring it, you know, that we have a wireless dropout. And of course antenna combiners in the right places and antennas, you know, the distance thing figured out and all that. But typically like we went to Tijuana and I put in like whatever, I didn't put in the zip code, but whatever it was for the hotel. And I was like, just tell me what TV stations are in this area. Because, you know, people go all over the world and do tours and need to watch out for the TV stations. And so then I just put them in and it all worked great in Mexico. Or, you know, we go to Waxahachie, which has Dallas TV stations. And you have to like, and they have a bunch of venue stuff too. So I coordinated it, and then we had one problem with one, and I just switched to backup frequency, done. So a little bit of pre-planning saves a lot of time.
Yeah.